He invited his maid as a joke, but when she arrived, looking like a goddess, everyone was stunned. The ballroom shimmered under chandeliers imported from Italy, their crystal reflections dancing over the marble floors. Every detail of the wedding had been hand-selected by professionals, white orchids flown in from Amsterdam, custom-tailored tuxedos, and a guest list stacked with CEOs, celebrities, and politicians. It was the kind of wedding people talked about for years. Perfect, flawless, grand, and at the center of it stood Graham Wexler, 34 years old, dressed in a custom black tux with silk lapels and a bow tie that cost more than most people's rent. He adjusted his cufflinks, scanned the crowd of sharply dressed men and immaculately styled women, then leaned toward his best man and whispered, smirking, "Let's see if the maid actually shows up." The best man laughed. "Wait, you seriously invited her?" Graham nodded. "I mean, come on. She's cleaned my floors for 5 years. Might as well give her a front row seat to what she'll never have." They both chuckled. She had been working in his estate for years, quiet, invisible, obedient, never invited to anything beyond vacuuming the corners of the house. Her name was Amara. She was dark-skinned, tall, always in faded uniforms, hair pulled back in a tight bun, and eyes that looked downward when spoken to. He had never asked about her past, never wondered why someone so quiet, so intelligent-looking, was working as a maid. She was just background. So when he sent her an invitation, he expected nothing. Maybe she'd laugh, or cry, or rip it up. But she didn't. She arrived. And when she did, everything stopped. The band was warming up. Guests were drinking champagne. Conversations filled the room with the hum of privilege. A yellow sports car had pulled up just minutes earlier for a photo op. Then the doors opened, and she walked in. No one recognized her at first. She wasn't in a maid's uniform. She was wearing a strapless white gown, elegant and clean, falling gracefully to the floor. Her natural hair was styled in a regal crown. A silver headband glittered across her forehead. No heavy makeup, just glowing skin and presence. People stared. Whispers began. Who is she? Was she invited? She's stunning. But the bride, standing at the far end of the room, noticed something none of them did. The groom had gone still, mouth parted, eyes locked, expression unreadable. She turned to follow his gaze and saw Amara. The bride's smile wavered. The guests parted as Amara walked through, not because she demanded space. She didn't need to. Her poise did it for her. Heads turned, necklaces lowered, glasses stopped. Mid-air, even the men flanking the groom, white men in black tuxedos, went quiet. Graham didn't move. His fingers clutched the edge of his jacket. This was the woman who once polished his boots, who washed his windows, who never said a word during his loudest, most arrogant rants. And yet she stood there, now looking like something out of a dream. Out of his dreams, maybe, but this moment didn't belong to him. It belonged to her. She walked calmly toward him, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with power. The groom finally whispered, "What is she doing here?" The best man replied, "You invited her." "No, I meant like this." But Amara wasn't listening to them. She smiled at the bride, a soft, genuine smile. The bride, still unsure, nodded slightly in return. Amara found her place near the back of the room and stood quietly, but no one stopped watching her. She didn't need to say a word. She didn't need to sit in the front row. Her presence alone had changed the atmosphere. Graham's father leaned over to him and asked, "Is that the maid you used to mock?" Graham said nothing, because mocking her now felt impossible. To the guests, she was a mystery. To the photographers, she became the unspoken highlight of the evening. But to the groom, she was a mistake he never thought he'd regret. What no one at the wedding knew was that Amara hadn't arrived in that stunning white gown. Just hours earlier, she had stood alone on a quiet street corner in a faded beige dress, the same one she wore to scrub floors and dust chandeliers. She hadn't even planned to come. The invitation felt like a setup, like a cruel joke. But something inside her refused to hide, so she showed up, and that's when someone called her name. Amara. She turned. There, stepping out of a coffee shop in heels and a navy blazer, was Zuri Blake, an old friend from university, someone she hadn't seen in over a decade. Someone from a different life. "Zuri," Amara whispered. Zuri ran to her and pulled her into a hug. They didn't need to explain anything. Not the years, not the pain. One look said enough. "You were invited to the Wexler wedding?" Zuri asked, glancing at the folded invitation in Amara's hand. Amara hesitated. "Yeah, probably as a joke." Zuri's eyes narrowed. "He thinks you'll walk in like this, doesn't he?" Amara shrugged. "I almost didn't come." Zuri grabbed her hand. "You're coming, but not like this. Not on his terms." 45 minutes later, Amara was in a plush salon, the faded dress discarded, her natural hair styled into a glowing halo, and her nails painted pearl white. "Don't worry about money," Zuri said. "I owe you more than this." A few hours and one dress boutique later, Amara stood in front of a mirror in a flawless strapless white gown, unsure of who she was looking at. Zuri placed a silver headband across her forehead. "Now that's who you've always been." And when Amara entered that ballroom, everything shifted. Now after the ceremony, people were still whispering. Some assumed she was an actress, others guessed. A foreign dignitary, a few bold ones even tried to flirt, but Amara ignored them all. She walked toward the back corner of the reception hall where the groom stood with a drink in his hand and shame in his eyes. "You invited me to laugh at me, didn't you?" she asked softly. He looked around. "Amara, this isn't the time." She smiled. "Relax. I'm not here to ruin your day. I came because I wanted to walk in there and show them what you couldn't see for 5 years." He clenched his jaw. "You think you're better than me. I don't need to be," she said calmly. "I just needed to remember I never was less." She turned to walk away, but he stopped her. "What were you really?" he asked. "You weren't just a maid, were you?" She paused. "I was a top student at St. Clair Law. I was supposed to graduate with honors, but I lost both parents in a car crash the week before my finals. I dropped out to care for my brother, took any job I could. Your house was just one of them." He stared at her. "You had a law degree. I had potential," she corrected. "You just never looked long enough to see it." Minutes later, a woman in her 60s approached Amara by the desert table. She was elegant, poised, and had tears in her eyes. "My name is Judge Vivian Whitmore," she said. "I overheard what you told the groom. I taught at St. Clair 20 years ago. I remember your name." Amara blinked. "You do. You wrote a paper on equity law that I still quote in my lectures." The woman smiled. "If you ever want a second chance, I can make a call, a scholarship, a seat, waiting for you." Amara couldn't speak. She just nodded, eyes full. She left the wedding without taking another look at the groom. She didn't need to. The people who once stared now stepped aside in quiet respect. The men who chuckled behind their drinks now averted their eyes, and Zuri waited by the door, car keys in hand. As they drove off, Amara looked out the window, head held high. The girl who used to mop their floors had just walked out of their ballroom like a goddess. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.